And from then on, we knew that we were invincible. So our first Mischief movie came out at the beginning of 2002, right when Fast and Furious released their first movie DVD. People were obsessed with street racing, and especially import street racing, and they wanted more. And they walked through Best Buy, and our first Mischief movie was sitting there right there on the shelves, you know, and it sold like crazy. This was our first product with our new company called Techademics. Our distributor was so happy on the first Mischief success, they wanted us to top it somehow. And they're like, well, we want you to come out with another movie as soon as possible. The problem was our first Mischief movie took a couple years to produce because we had to go to these different street racing events. And they wanted another full movie in 7 months. And we're like, what the hell are we going to do? You know, street racing is popular, but now kind of when Fast and Furious came out, it kind of screwed over street racing because everybody was going to the street races, attracting the police and messing up races because there's just so many people around. So we were watching MTV Jackass where they did the Gumball rally, and we're like, holy crap, this is awesome. It's rich people that were driving exotic cars the way they were made to be driven, but on highways. You know, we're used to seeing people in the United States driving exotic cars, pampering them, you know, stay away from my car, you know, and these people didn't give a shit. And there were celebrities in these rallies, and we're like, man, we need to do something like this for the next Mischief movie. It turns out they were actually coming to the States in like 6 weeks. So I'm like, okay, we got to go on this rally, maybe film a couple days of the rally, and that'll be parts of our new movie. So we looked at the entry fee, and it was like 12,000 pounds. There was no way in hell we could afford that much money. So we're like, okay, let's come up with another idea. A friend of ours we recently met named Reza. He was an exotic car broker. So we showed him the episode, and he was really interested. He wanted to do it, and it turns out he bought entry for him and his friend, and we planned on following him on the rally for a couple days. He actually brought a 360 Spider, and this was 2002, and there was a 2 or 3 year waiting list on it, and he was able to just come out of nowhere with this car. And so the Gumball was really happy because they'd never seen one before, and we followed Reza's Ferrari into the garage, and they just waved us in like, hey, you guys are part of the rally. So we're like, okay, cool, you know. And we were so excited just to make it into the garage. So we get down there, and we were just so amazed because the whole car was filled with like 150 exotic cars. Most of them were shipped over from Europe. First thing we see is an F50 over here, an R33 Skyline over here. Remember, like I said, this is 2002. We've never seen anything like that before. There's an old Ferrari Daytona over here. We're like, this is the most amazing thing ever, you know? It's like kids in a candy store. So I decided I'm gonna go follow Reza up to the registration office in the hotel, and maybe I'll see some famous people, and I'll just see how this kind of behind the scenes stuff works. So he's picking out his free Puma shoes and his Gumball jacket and all this free merch, and I was hoping to get some, but of course I didn't. And he signed all these forms, and before we left, a lady gave him a piece of paper, and the piece of paper is a white sheet of paper with black magic marker, and it said on the top his name, his passenger name, and in the middle was a big number. He's basically instructed to go downstairs and put this piece of paper on his dashboard. So downstairs, the Gumball staff was stickering up all the cars, all the Gumball stickers, and that number would be the number plate for his door. And I'm like, Dado, I have an awesome idea. I was like, hear me out. So I grabbed him. We went a couple blocks from the hotel, went to Kinko's. I stole some paper, blank paper out of a copier. We borrowed a magic marker from the lady behind the counter, and I wrote my name, Dado's name, and I just made a number like 94, just whatever. It's a high number, just got to be, you know, whatever. So we got the piece of paper, we went back to the garage, and we put the piece of paper on our dashboard. He's like freaking out, like, let's just see what happens, let's see what happens. We went to the pre-party at some club, and then we spent the night at some friend's house on their floor. So the next morning we were like all kind of giddy, like, you know, what's going to happen? Like, is the car going to be stickered up or not? And we come around the corner, our car's all stickered up, except that there was no number on the door. But it's still, we were just, holy shit, this worked. And there's a note on there from the Gumball staff that said duplicate number. Go see the main office. And we're like, fuck this. We're not going to go back to that main office. We'll just see how far we can take this, you know. We couldn't get into the Gumball drivers meeting because we didn't have a wristband and we weren't on the Gumball. So Dado went around taking pictures of all the cars that were recently stickered up, and I decided, you know what, I'm hungover. We have a long drive. I slept on somebody's floor. I took a nap in Dado's car. I had knocked on a window about an hour later, and it was the Gumball staff. And they're like, "Excuse me, sorry to bother you." I'm like, "Oh, I was just pretending I was in pain." I told them, I was like, "Look, My driver is at the driver's meeting. I have a migraine. I'm kind of just like hanging out. And she's like, oh, no, I didn't mean to bother you. You have a duplicate number, but we'll figure it out at the next checkpoint. I'm like, okay, cool, thank you. In our movie, you'll see I'll jump in Dado's car when he comes out, and right before we leave for the rally, I say, hey, Dado, you ready for this? And he's like, yes, we're car 192. We've never told a story, so nobody knows what that meant, but they actually gave us the number as we were leaving, 192, but they actually never gave us the numbers for the car. They actually thought we were part of the rally, so they wrote our information down at 192. So we're like, okay, this is awesome. We're on the Gumball rally, and we have cars all stickered up, so we're calling all our friends, hey, meet us at Union Station, train station in DC. We're about to come with all these exotic cars. So we go down there, and the only thing that's kind of separated us from the rest of the Gumball guys were we didn't have wristbands. Everybody else had wristbands. So when you got to Union Station about 5 hours later, I told the ladies at the checkpoint desk, I was like, look, we took our wristbands off because we just thought it was for their first day. And they were like, oh, don't worry about it. They gave me and Dado wristbands. And we're like, oh, thank you so much. You know, what about our number on our car? And they're like, don't worry about it. We'll worry about the next checkpoint. We get the next card, and the route is 10 hours, the Gaylord Hotel in Nashville, Tennessee. We get there, and everybody's checking in the hotel. And we're like, okay, we'll just check in too. I'll just go in there and just like, you know, I'll pretend we're checking in the Gumball, but see if we can get an extra room. And they're like, yeah, it's like $500 to $600 or whatever. And I'm like, there's no way in hell we can afford, you know, we were just gonna drive for a day. We didn't know we were gonna take it this far. So we're like, we really can't afford that, but we'll just skip it, you know, whatever. But that evening they had a dinner boat, like a private party for all the Gumballers. We walk up with Reza, and they waved us in because we had wristbands. And sure enough, we're partying with everybody, we're getting to know everybody, we're on this boat with all the Gumballers. At the end of the night, I looked at Dad, I was like, we're fucking taking this all the way. We were Gumballers at that point. Then reality hit when we got back off the boat, we were back to the hotel, and we're like, we don't really have anywhere to stay. And we don't want anybody to know that we're not really legit. So we were partying with some more people, and we was like, hey, you know what, we'll be right back. We're gonna go get gas for our car. And so what we did was we went a couple blocks to the nearest Motel 6 to get a room. And we're like, okay, we can do this, except that our car, bright yellow M3 with all these Gumball stickers, we can't park it in front of the hotel. So we end up, for some reason, there's always a dumpster scene in our movies. There's a dumpster behind the hotel with one parking spot. We hid the car so nobody driving by on any of the roads could see that we were at that hotel. So the next morning, all the cars were lining up in front of the Gaylord Hotel for the second day, and we were one of the first cars lined up ready to go, and nobody had any idea we weren't staying at that hotel. About an hour and a half into the trip, there was a roadblock on one of the main highways in Tennessee, and I guess, remember this is 2002, so a lot of people didn't have cell phones. If they did, the service sucked. So the police pulled us over, but they didn't realize how many people were in this rally, and there was over 150 cars. So all of a sudden there's 30 cars on the side of the road, and more of us are coming. And the police chief was on vacation that day. The next guy in charge is like, we have on video camera, like he didn't know what to do because we were causing like a 12-mile backup because all these cars kept on coming. And they just like, look, just get out of here. Drive safe, but just get out of here. We got to open up traffic. And from then on, we knew that we were invincible. And it was the best feeling in the world. And we stayed with the fast group of cars because we would stir up the hornet's nest, and then all the police would get called and then start getting all the people behind us. We got to Dallas, it was the same issue we had before. So the hotel was so expensive, you know. But this time our car was blocked in with the rest of the other cars. So after we partied with everybody, we had to get we got our suitcases and snuck out the back of the hotel, a couple blocks, got a cab, stayed at another cheap motel, woke up really, really early, came back, we were in a car and lined up with everybody else, and then took off to New Mexico. We ended up staying at the hotel in Vegas. Then we finished the rally in California with everybody. And there was only one thing that we needed to do, was to get into the final Gumball finish party at the Playboy Mansion. After all this, now we're nervous about whether or not we can get into this party. And it's funny because the Gumball staff, some of the guys loved Dado's M3. They loved BMWs. It was one of the only M3s on this rally. And you know, as soon as they saw our wristbands, it's like, come on! They invited us on the bus to go to the Playboy Mansion, and we did it. You know, we were successfully scammed the Gumball, and got to the finishing party at the Playboy Mansion. And that movie put us on the map. It put Dado on the map. It actually put Gumball on the map. And it became one of the top selling sports DVDs in the world. Fast forward 8 months later, Maximilian, who's the organizer of the Gumball, his wife at the time, contacted me. I talked to her and she was like really nice. Like, oh, you guys made the Mischief 3000 video. I was like, yeah, that's really nice. She was like, oh, thanks for the publicity. Nah, it wasn't like that. She completely did a 180 and she's like chewing me out. She's like, look, when you did this rally, you signed a contract saying that all the footage that you guys shot is owned by us. You can't sell any of that footage. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You stole our footage and I want to know how many DVDs you sold. I want to know how much money you guys made. I want your distributor information. And I cut her off. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? We weren't a part of your rally. She was like taken back. She's like, we weren't part of this rally. We just followed along and videotaped. She's like, what do you mean? We have footage of you in the registration room. I was like, yeah, because my friend was registering and I happened to be there. We were instructed to park next to my friend in the Gumball garage. The next day we get to our car and you guys vandalized our car with Gumball stickers. I was like, yeah, what is that all about? And she's like, well, you were at all our hotels. I was like, yeah, well, we have receipts that we paid for our own stay. We didn't use the Gumball's name. We tricked the Gumball so bad they actually thought we were participants. Which I thought was funny, but I know we were in a lot of trouble. We had some really good lawyer friends that came and helped us out, and then we received all the papers of the Gumball saying they are going to sue us. The problem was they were going to sue the people who gave us footage. So some of the Gumballers that gave us additional footage, and we mentioned them in the credits, and they were named in the future lawsuit. So they eventually wanted to get us for copyright infringement because Dado's M3 was on the cover of the DVD, and on the hood was the Gumball logo, and that's what they were going to try to get us for. But doing some digging, they didn't trademark it correctly, so they really couldn't get us for that, so I thought that was our out for the lawsuit. But they had more money than we did. Our lawyer settled with them. It was like $150,000, and then our lawyer fees are about $90,000. So it nearly wiped us out, but we did survive. And it really sucked though, because the Gumball never watched our movie. They thought that we filmed their movie and we called it Mischief 3000, because that was our mistake. We called the movie Mischief 3000. So they just thought that we stole their idea and it was the Mischief 3000 rally. And they didn't even just sit down and watch the movie, and they would have known that we were helping promote them. So they allowed us to continue with sales of the movie. But we had to change the cover of the DVD. And then all the footage that was given to us, we had to take that footage out of the DVD. So if you have a copy of Mischief 3000 with the Gumball logo on it, on Dado's hood, that is a very rare copy and that's the best copy.